welcoming Venerable Kachayana joining this meeting. Where are you?
We're at a friend's house in Fremont. It looks a little different. They've redecorated, but you've been here, Ayya. This is Susanna's.
So, emerging from meditation, it can be very useful to return to the theme or the intention that we sat down with. And review what happened in the meditation. What difficulties did I encounter? What has changed from the end of this meditation, from the beginning of the meditation? And if one has experienced, what seems to be some kind of a success or advancement in the meditation, being very clear and recalling like what steps you followed to get into that state. And then future times when coming to meditation, one may try and see if it's possible to follow the same procedure of meditation and get the same kind of result. And in that way we build up confidence and I could say efficiency in practicing meditation, of being able to not just be drifting around and having mind of free association or the same problems over and over again, the hindrances arising, but then being able to make our precious meditation time as valuable as possible. During this past almost 2 months, Dhamma has been in our winter retreat period, and during the programs that we've shared over the Zoom with you all, we have been developing or presenting a kind of an outline of what the Buddha taught about stream entry, Sotapanna. We talked about the basic factors that are the proximate cause of stream entry in terms of associating with a true person, listening to the true Dhamma, developing wise attention, and practicing the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma. And we've looked at what the significance of this practicing the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma is, the breadth of the practice and the wonderful progressive nature of the different elements that can be developed and cultivated, that we can become skillful at, familiar with, and how this may culminate in the afflictive and negative tendencies of the mind becoming weaker and weaker, and the ability to let go, especially of any kind of craving and clinging, gradually develops, that we're at least able to partly let go. And we get this habit of letting go, that whenever something has come up for us that's afflictive, we are learning how to let go until we come in a certain way to be willing to let go of everything that's holding us back. And then it may come at this kind of a moment in the combination of the reflection that we've had, the listening to the Dhamma that we've had, the efforts that we've made along the practice, and the especially the practice of meditation, which is, it is a discipline and an effort in one way, but in another way, it's a practice of letting the mind be still and receptive, allowing a kind of an intuitive, direct knowing to come along, which is of a different character, a different flavor than just hearing different ideas and concepts and coming to understand those ideas, or having a different kind of understandings about the meaning of what we encounter in life. Instead, the kind of knowing that can come up from within meditation has got a direct quality that's very unique. And so then it can come from the combination of all of these factors together, that there is the arising of the Dhamma I, or an encounter with the I opening Dhamma at a point where we become like willing to see in a different way and realize a different way of seeing. At that point, it is said that out of 10 fetters described in the sutta as being the factors that keep us tied on the round of samsara, that 3 of those fetters will disappear when that stream entry path is fully developed, when we realize the fruit of the stream entry. The fruit of the stream entry is the disappearance of these 3 fetters. The 10 fetters are given in the list as Sakkaya Ditthi, or the seeing a self in the 5 aggregates or any combination. So believing that this body, our feeling, our perceptions, our volitional formations, or that our consciousness, thinking that any one of those things or any combination of them or all of them together comprises this is myself. So that breaks. Then the vicikicca, which is the doubt in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and this training, disappears completely. The silabhata paramaso, which is the clinging to rites and rituals, disappears. Those 3 disappear at stream entry. The next 2 fetters are called kama chanda, which is sensual desire, vyapada, which is ill will. Those 2 fetters at the next stage, there's the stages of awakening. So one who is the stream winner continues practicing with this Noble Eightfold Path. And then there will come to be a point of time where there's a realization that another level has been consolidated. You could say it's like if one is hiking in the forest and climbing a mountain, uh, you're climbing and climbing and climbing along the path, and then from time to time you come out to an opening where there's like a viewpoint, and you can pause there and have a rest and enjoy the view, and notice where you are on your way up to the top of the mountain. Are you 1/4 of the way up, or 1/2 the way up, or 3/4 the way up, or have you reached the summit? And so then, for one who is said to be a once returner, destined to be reborn in this material realm only one more time, that for that person, the fetter of sensual desire and ill will have become greatly weakened. And then at the next stage, the one who is destined not to be reborn at this material plane, but to be only in an immaterial plane of existence after this, that for that person, sensual desire and ill will are completely gone. And then for the one who's fully awakened, there are these 5 higher fetters which become wiped out and disappeared. And that is called Rupa Raga. Literally that means like the lust for form. That is the desire to be reborn in the realm of luminous form, which is related to the 4 jhanas. The practice of the 4 jhanas, or especially the practice of the Brahma Viharas, leading to a heavenly rebirth. So this desire for this kind of heaven, that's a kind of craving that will be gone. And then there's the desire for rebirth in the formless realm, the desire for formlessness, and that would be associated with one who enjoys practicing the immaterial meditations, and still has a little bit of craving for the peace, the extreme peace and clarity of those formless realms, such as the realm of pure consciousness. And then the next one is called conceit. This is the subtle attachment to the apparent self. Even after we no longer believe it, as like a belief system. This is like a viewpoint. We're not holding to the view anymore, but there can be this subtle craving to take care of the self. This is this conceit. So that disappears, and then the next one is called restlessness, udacha, and that restlessness is particularly associated with having had a clear view of what nibbana is, what the final release will be, and then you want the final release. But as long as you want that final release, then it creates a certain restlessness, which is an impediment to release. So when you want it, you can't have it. When you stop wanting it, when you stop being restless about your longing or discontent of being anywhere short of full awakening, then that restlessness goes away, and then the awakening can happen. And then the last one is called avidya, which is the destruction of ignorance, and in particular the ignorance in relation to the in relation to the taints, the final taint of ignorance. This is the avidya, which is at the root of dependent origination because of ignorance of volitional formations arise. And then after that, the entire cycle of existence starts going around again. So that ignorance, which is part of the base energy for the arising of this rebirth pattern, that's the one that goes away. What I thought I might do tonight is just speak about one of these fetters. And I'm setting aside the Sakaya Diti. I'm going to leave that for Ayya Sobhana to explain later on. But I thought of speaking tonight about Vichikicha, or skeptical doubt. So, Vichikicha is both a hindrance. It's one of the 5 hindrances that block meditation, and it's also one of the fetters that is keeping us tied down to rebirth. So there is a level of skeptical doubt that we will start to work to overcome long before we've even come close to being a stream winner. That Vichikicha at the level of the hindrance is described in the metaphor as being a person who's trying to traverse a desert, and they're lost. They don't know which way to turn, which way to go. And so you don't know which way is the destination. The path is not clear. You don't, and then because of doubtfulness, then you can become like fearful of wasting your energy going the wrong way, and just sort of like a trapped. It's kind of like a double bond. You're trapped in this hesitation and questioning. It's in this kind of a circumstance that the factor that I mentioned at the beginning of meeting a true person can be tremendously significant. If you meet a teacher who's realized something in this path, or if you met a Buddha, or if, as a result of hearing the suttas and reading the suttas, even though our Buddha of this era has gone to his parinibbana a long time ago, nevertheless, in a certain kind of way, indirectly, we hear the story and we come to appreciate him as an actual, a real person, the way he lived and the way he practiced, the way he taught, the way he pursued his quest for awakening. I can very clearly recall almost my very first encounter with the Dhamma. I met the bhikkhu who became my primary teacher, Bandaji, Bande Gunaratana. And I don't know why, because I didn't understand what awakening was. I didn't understand what Nibbana was. I didn't understand what the Four Noble Truths were. But I was persuaded by the happiness, the patience, the brightness of this monk. And the only thing that I had was I knew that I was miserable and I wanted to get out of misery. And so I made a decision to just follow the advice that this monk was offering to the best of my ability. And I decided to give it 1 year. I would just follow whatever he was suggesting about the way to practice. So that was like a, entry level. I was able to temporarily put aside my skeptical way of thinking and my doubts and everything. So I would have just enough confidence to be able to sit down and practice meditation, and to be able to learn the outline of Buddhism. As we go along the way, the way that the Buddha set out this teaching as an invitation to come and see, with the strong emphasis that one should rely on their own direct experience, that if they aim their inquiry in a certain way, that it's possible to know for yourself. This was a tremendous boost for me, and I think for many people, in being able to overcome our doubts and resistance to this teaching. We're not seeing some kind of a religious dogma that is demanding that we have faith at the beginning. Or if you do have a doubt about that, like when you come to the Noble Eightfold Path, the first step on the path is right view, explained as the realizing or understanding the Four Noble Truths, and that for me was quite it was an obstacle at the beginning. Having been raised in a dogmatic religious tradition, it seemed to me like, you had to like sign up on your, Pledge of Allegiance that you promised to accept these Four Noble Truths before you could be able to get into the club and be able to practice. And it wasn't until learning a bit more that I realized that the initial right view that's really being asked of us is simply to come to see about karma, about cause and effect, and about the possibility of awakening, and there actually are true persons who have realized to have awakened, and then with that starting point, there's a whole sequence of development, beginning with purifying one's ethics and morality, developing loving kindness, beginning to find out how to develop right effort and abandon the hindrances, developing mindfulness, being able to enter into meditation because of that. And then after that whole long course of training, then the full significance of these Four Noble Truths may be known and integrated and experienced in such a more direct way. So truly, with the skillful teachings that the Buddha gave in so many different formats for different kinds of individuals, we can see that there are actually several different gates or different parts of this path of training that it's possible to get your first foothold into this training, and then eventually to come along to realize it. The Buddha, another word for doubt is called a kankha, sometimes called a question, and the Buddha did not absolutely condemn having questions, but instead he gave the encouragement that when there are questions, the questions should be investigated until one is resolved and finds an answer. So, as a result of this mindset of, we could say like intelligent questioning or intelligent investigation, because of having encountered that true person and having heard the outline of the Dhamma and understanding it to some extent, that then if we begin to practice this yoniso manasikara, that we are directing our awareness in an intelligent, thorough, and appropriate way, especially to see how these teachings sit within our direct experience, that we're able to apprehend ourselves. Especially the direct experience that can be apprehended as a result of practicing meditation, the evolution or the change, the transformation of our point of view that's happening when we have a regular meditation practice. At one time, I was talking to a young person who, a college student, and she said that her friends in college many of her friends in college were completely cynical and skeptical, that they almost made it like a badge of honor to be skeptical. And an aspect of their skepticism is that they were very intellectual, up in their heads, with engaging in different kinds of like a combat of ideas, so that the different concepts and ideas were, I don't know, like toys on a board game or something like that, that they would stay at that level, but they were not in touch with their own happiness, not in touch with like what way of thinking is just keeping me stuck in misery, or what way of thinking begins to relieve the intensity of misery, or what way of thinking is giving me some protection so that I can be away from misery, so that I can be dwelling in the states which are peaceful, calm, and free, rather than being, trapped in different kinds of reactivity. And so then one way that is like the opposite of skeptical doubt is rather than just staying up at that level of concepts, that one learns how to tune into the citta, also the citta in terms of the mind and heart, in order to understand which states are really for my welfare and happiness, and which states are the opposite, and what supports that. And this is something that really, I guess a psychologist or a Dhamma teacher can, give an outline of the different kinds of states of mind that are possible. But to realize for yourself, you've got to realize it for yourself. And then when you do that, then you've got a compass, an internal compass, and you're able to then test the different teachings or ideas that are, or the different practices, the different kinds of discipline, the whole set of the training that's offered in this Dhamma, and find out whether it's good for you or not. And so that in that way, the faith or the confidence that one could develop is based on one's own work. Another part of developing the confidence is a factor of awakening called Dhamma Vichaya, which is developing the skill to recognize and to perceive one's own inner process. So instead of being lost in being busy with activities, or lost in being completely preoccupied with different external things, instead having the ability to hold the awareness of what's going on internally within one's own mind, and to investigate that, especially knowing what's kusala, what's akusala, what's really for my welfare, what's against my welfare. So then, going through this long process, then this moment of the arising of the Dhamma I, it seems that perhaps a long process of evolution has gradually and gently worn away the different kinds of resistance and reactivity and unwise choices and gross delusions, gross harmful concepts get worn down until one is in a place where we're like willing to see. And then from there, this opening of the Dhamma I, seeing, especially seeing the Four Noble Truths in the full implications of it, is able to arise. At that point, it's said that one has removed out perplexity, one has gained intrepidity. I think that's a kind of courage. One has become independent of others in regard to the Dhamma. And you have the unwavering confidence. It's said that this is the confidence in the Buddha, confidence in the Dhamma, confidence in the Sangha, and confidence in the Sikha, or the path of training. So faith and confidence are not something that you use to overcome doubt. Instead, the result of successfully removing doubt through investigation is that you have this faith and confidence. I'll give you one other, I think I have another couple of thoughts that I could mention, but just to emphasize that being stuck in a state of doubt or skepticism can be very depressing and discouraging, and make it very difficult to make the effort, to make the commitment to doing the practice, to following the suggestions that are given in the Eightfold Noble Path. But having enough faith or having enough confidence to being willing to practice is very important. And as the confidence builds up, so then the clarity and the you could say the energy or the ability to commit to this practice becomes stronger and stronger. I would say that Westerners tend to be skeptical and intellectual and busy. That's sort of like one of the faults of our civilization, of our culture. And certainly I can, this is my testimony, what happened to me from practicing in this Dhamma for 30 years is that I went from being a skeptical person to one who really appreciates the idea of the faith follower, of even without having a visionary experience of Nibbana, having so much confidence in the goodness of this path, and just wanting to stay on the path, not take a wrong turn, not fall off the path, to just stay on it, stay with it. And because of confidence, knowing that the subsequent levels of understanding and comprehension will open up. So whatever I don't yet understand, whatever I have not yet realized personally, I absolutely have the confidence that as long as I stay on the path, it will open up. I'm going to pause here for your comments or questions about what your journey has been with this hindrance of skeptical doubt. Have you overcome it? If you overcame it, how? How did you? What is brought about the evolution of this faith and confidence? Okay, Chris?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So last month and a half or so, I guess, I've been starting to be a lot more consistent with my meditative practice. I haven't missed a day. There 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes a day, 2 sessions, but I guess it can shake my confidence a little bit sometimes, because I find myself like I'm focusing on my breath and then it feels like every like 3 to 8 seconds I have to deal with uh just with distractions. And sometimes even when I'm focusing on my breath, I'll be like, okay, well this time I'm gonna focus kind of in my chest area, and then I'll catch myself. Well, now my focus is divided. I'm focusing on my chest and my nose at the same time, and then other times I'll kind of get into this zone in between wakefulness and sleep, and I'll have almost like not necessarily visions, but something like that. And it's really odd. Sometimes it'll be like I'm on my phone or something, like literally like I'm scrolling through my phone in my head, or like on my on my computer, and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? I need to sit back down and meditate. And I'll be like, wait, I that's literally what I'm doing. Um, but part of that has to do with because I have back issues. I meditate laying on my back, so I don't know if that contributes, but it can be a little hard to keep confidence, because I feel like, since I've started, it's just every few seconds a random thought, and I feel like I spend the majority of my meditation uh, distracted.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if maybe there's something that I do have a back brace, so I can wear the back brace, and then I can be seated in an upright position fairly comfortably. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm just trying to have faith in the process and
Yeah.
just keep on doing it every day, even if I'm not kind of, I guess, getting the results that I was necessarily expecting or hoping for. I find myself thinking about the same person a lot of times, and then kind of sad feelings associated with that. And then, like I said, almost like I'm imagining like being on my phone or like my computer. And so, yeah, that's been my experience um,
Right.
with confidence and doubt lately. And I guess if you could maybe provide a little bit, maybe something that I can tweak, or something new I can try when I'm meditating.
Oh, that's a really good report that you've given, and I really will congratulate you that you've got so much accuracy in your self-observation that you can specify that the distracting thoughts come along every 3 to 8 seconds. And how many people, if you went to the average person on the street and said, well, how often do you have distracting thoughts? They wouldn't have a clue. They could say, like, maybe once a day I have distracting thoughts because they missed the other 10,000 distracting thoughts that they had. So, so right there um, is something that is uh, is good. And every time that the mind, um, like if you said that the object is the breath, and then the mind uh, veers off onto something else, and then comes back. So each time that you come back to watching the breath, that is building a very important muscle. So if I can't do the math, but however many times, if you're going away every 3 seconds and then you come back to the breath every I mean, when you go away, I don't know that if you stay away, like you've lost your meditation object and you stay lost in thought for 10 minutes and then come back, then you'll have a chance to come back to your breath once in a 15-minute session. But if you come back quickly, the more quickly you're able to come back, the more times, and that's really developing something that's very beneficial. So that's one side. Another thought that I have is that even though within the meditation session it feels like it's not working, while you are off the cushion going through your day, you may find that your way of thinking is different. And that's like the meditation is working on you in ways that you're not able to see directly. It's like you're reprogramming your subconscious. You can't directly see what's happening with you as a result of the meditation, but you can see the indirect results of that with the change of your mentality. So I encourage there's different kinds of ways to watch the breath that can make it easier to hold on to the breath without distraction. Sometimes for some people, like counting, seeing if you could count, like breathe in 1, breathe out 1, breathe in 2, breathe out 2, up to 5. And then if you're able to get as far as 5 breaths without getting lost, then you go back to 1 and start again, breathing, counting 5 complete in and out breaths. And this kind of practice, you don't want to be doing that forever, because it becomes sort of like a distraction. But it's hard for the mind to go from something to nothing, and the counting the breath is a little bit of mental activity, different than your problems and the things you want to worry about. It's kind of like a plug that sometimes can block off those other thoughts while you're staying with the breath. But then when the mental agitation that causes the thinking goes away, then you can let go of the counting and just be with the breath. One other suggestion I'll make, I learned this from Shaila Catherine, who had a very severe back injury. She had many years of meditation where she was really not able to sit up at all. She would lie flat on her back, and she would put one hand up in the air, and so it would be like her arm was in a sitting posture, while her body was lying on the back. And in that way, she had to have enough wakefulness and energy to keep the arm up. And when she started to fall asleep, the arm would fall down. So that's like something that you could try experimenting with to keep your meditation having a certain amount of energy, even while you're lying on the back. Just experiencing a lot of distraction is really normal, and the first thing is just to know the mind is so restless, and just to really come to understand that. And you've already given a tip that it's part of your restlessness is coming from desire, because you're thinking about your friend, so then if you would be willing to, just for 15 minutes, put aside desire. Just kind of like make that sort of like a decision at the beginning that I'm just for this 15 minutes, I'm going to put that to the side. So that's some ideas, but just the main thing is just keep going. Just keep on practicing. What you're experiencing is completely normal, and I'm glad that you have a clear understanding of it.
Thank you so much. That's great advice. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you.
Right. Richard.
Thank you, Ayya. So, in looking at these beginning fetters, when one sees clearly the Four Noble Truths so that one understands all Dhammas that are subject to arising or subject to cessation, one sees that their own body, the Sakkaya, which means Sat, existing, Kaya, body, is also subject to the same arising and cessation. And seeing that the Four Noble Truths and the reflection of your own bodily existence in this way, you see that the Buddha is teaching the correct way. And seeing that, you give up all doubt that the Buddha is the enlightened one. You now see that, oh, okay, this is the real teacher. He's seeing everything perfectly as it is. And I too now can see it in the same way. And the third part, the Sila Bhatta Paramasa, Sila means habit, and Bhatta is actually, it's got to do with the way sandhis are put together. It's Bhatta. Bhatta means observance, and Paramasa means being affected by. So if you know a lot about ancient India, I lived in India as a monk for almost 2 years. The Indian people regularly, like, they get up in the morning and maybe they bow in a certain direction and chant certain things, and then they clean their area, and then they'll, with like a chalk, type colored chalk, they'll make like these spiritual patterns in their doorway and stuff like that. And all these activities are to ward off things so that they remain safe, happy, and protected. But now you see that it's your own mind which is causing rebirth, which is causing samsara and everything. That regardless of the state of the body or anything like that, it doesn't matter. So these things that you're doing with your body, these special things and prayers and everything else, you know, can't really make you safe, happy, or protected. That it's your own state of mind, your own understanding of the Buddha's, you know, teaching, that is going to make you safe, happy, and protected, and overcome samsara, being caught in this endless cycle of birth and death and all the difficulties and problems and troubles that entails. So this is why when you attain Sotapan, these three things drop away, okay? Because they're totally interconnected. But unfortunately, because of habits of mind, you might still have sensual desire. You might still get, you know, upset and angry at things. So those things will begin to gradually diminish now as you continue. You've stepped on the first step of the path, right view, and now as you progress further along the path, and also depends on how much of a, let's say, a simple life that you had developed before that time. Okay, Buddha talks about this in one sutta. He says it depends on how much you developed, you know, the next 4 steps on the path ahead of time. But as you go through those stages, you know, slowly, you know, you'll reduce your sensual desire, you'll reduce your reaction to becoming upset or angry or anything like that. And then as you begin to absorb yourself more, when you reach that point of the jhana and the happiness and bliss of the jhanas, as Buddha said when he first began to get insight into what might be the correct way to nibbana, he said, why should I fear that pleasure and happiness of the jhanas? It's not a sensual worldly pleasure, right? And it's the sensual worldly pleasure that's causing you to take rebirth. You're searching after those sensual worldly pleasures. So that's why he got that insight. You know, why should I fear that pleasure? You know, maybe that is the way. Yes, that is the way, you know, he thought. You know, that middle way, you know, you're not torturing the body, you're not running around searching after sensual pleasures. You're you're developing the higher mind, the higher states of mind. And so at that point, you begin to transition where you're much less interested in any sensual pleasure, and your anger, tendency to becoming even mildly upset or angry greatly becomes reduced. And so then you go beyond Sotapan to once returner. So anyways, it's interesting that you gave this lecture, because I was going to make this point of why these three things disappear upon stream entry tonight. I actually had notes and I had thought about it, because I think it's important for someone to understand it's not magic. There's actually something really happening that causes a specific result. You know what I mean? Three things are totally related, and something has happened, an insight has come into your mind that has freed you from your past views, established you in right view, and these things just automatically just fall away because of the interconnectedness of it. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Oh, for the young man and his meditation, it's very important not to get upset with yourself. If you're trying to meditate and your mind doesn't seem to be staying in focus, it's okay. A good technique is to just, as soon as you notice it, just say to your mind, yes, that's very important, and we'll take care of that later, because right now I'm meditating. So always stay calm, and you'll see over a period of time that will help you tremendously. And the mind will kind of begin to settle down on its own by making it a sort of subjective, objective type experience. You're separating yourself out from those distractions and from any upsetness or anything like that arising. Anyways, that's just a technique I use. It might be helpful. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. For myself, the Sakaya Ditti, I've always, I heard about the definition of that in terms of the 5 khandhas, the 5 upadana khandhas, clinging to the form, feeling, perceptions, volitional formations, and consciousness, as it's laid out in the Chula Vedala Sutta, in the definition of Sakaya Ditti. And that was so meaningful to me in terms of the whole emotional, psychological construct that was formed, where one is protecting the self in a reactive way, protecting the self in terms of those 5 aggregates, and then seeing the dukkha in that, being willing to let I always call it the juggernaut, the sort of locked together, interlocking system of the way those factors are interacting to create this delusionary self, which then becomes such a misery. And then after having begun to unbind it or loosen it up, or see the elements separately, seeing the separation of those elements, and then seeing the impermanence of those elements becomes more and more possible. And indeed that contemplation of impermanence is tremendously helpful. And it seems like, as I've been interested, I've been looking at which practices have been coming out as being emphasized in this particular course we've had this time about stream entry. And so then, indeed, with that, once that self-obsession comes apart, then the other 2 hindrances, the clinging to rites and rituals and the skeptical doubt, seem to be also swept away at the same time. But I wanted to kind of since the Buddha gave them as 3 different fetters, I wanted to give a, a significant like exploration to each one of those three fetters in all of its ramifications. And it may be that for different individuals that different aspects of this triplex of three fetters. Like there's one aspect that's the one that you're able to let go of, and then when that goes, the others go. I think I see a question coming from the what? Hello?
Hi, Ayya. So when I hear presentations such as this and hearing you and Richard and the man that shared, this gives me a lot of faith to keep going. And in fact, what I wanted to know was what's the process? Because I've definitely been really entangled and entrapped with thoughts and suffering. What happens between that to going further on down the path? And what's the difference in the mind? Is it some type of decongling the knots and stuff that's going on? Is it just this is scientific? It's not magical, right? I mean, there's something that happens that is the mind just relaxing, or do you know what is it?
I guess I would say observing one's own process and following this path of training. And as you follow this path of training, then doing that self-observation and seeing what's changing. Even like at the very most basic level, a person who hasn't thought much about their morality, who wants to become much more conscientious and sensitive about being careful with their ethics. You know, when you do that, that means you're not trying to hurt anybody. And you're also especially not trying to hurt yourself. And that's a huge step. You know, a lot of people are poisoning themselves every day with unskillful behavior and unskillful thoughts. People are making themselves sick. And so then, even from that first thought of just developing more kindness, more like the intention of not to do any harm, developing the virtual morality, and then from there, sort of going inside and seeing what the habits of the mind are, and listening to the Dhamma again and again, listening to the suttas, listening to teachers who are, and to friends and colleagues who are really practicing. So listening, making the effort, with the meditation then allows this practice to sink into the psychology and to evolve it. Like it sort of like allows an evolution of the mind at a you could say at a subconscious level or at an intuitive level, that there's a possibility for an evolution of our self-insight and a changing of our intentions and so forth. So if you just wanted to say be good and be nice, be kind, and follow precepts and think about different ideas, that would not do the job by itself. It has to also include the meditation practice. So listening to the Dhamma, being around people who are in the Dhamma, practicing meditation, it's a process of reprogramming the habits of the mind, allowing the insight, wisdom, or a different framework to be understood both at the surface and also deep down. Okay. Okay, Susan.
Thank you, Ayya, and everyone. I will try to focus. I'm a little tired, but I feel so I'm in love with this practice, and I don't have doubt. If it's there, I'm sure it's always growing. And I mean the that falls away. And what I would say is I have a similar practice, a similar path to you, Ayya. And I was in tremendous suffering most of my life prior to getting on this path, but I was always doing things from 16, uh, sort of in that direction. But it was always building, building. I see back. And then when I finally met, um, I'll just jump to, uh, there's so many things I've done. But when I met Ajahn Sona, which I think a lot of you are probably familiar with, I was in his year Upasaka program, and that was quite helpful. We studied Bhikkhu Bodhi's book, and which is a basic fundamental, the foundation. And nothing's written in stone. It's not like you're saying, some rules, but training in what is this? And I found listening to the voice of another, which Ajahn Sona says a lot, is quite powerful. And to give credit to the teachers that have inspired me is very important. I feel part of my identity, losing that, it's not me. I mean, it's anyway, that I feel is quite helpful to just adore them, put them in respect that. And so he also said that, the thing about it, having we all need teachers because we're conditioned. We learn everything and we're conditioned. And so we need a teacher who's been through the path more than we have, that more than I have. And so I listened. Then the difference is I could practice it myself. And I trained and I did what I did my best to practice, and it convinced me. And the other thing I would say is funny thing, beginning back years ago, Thich Nhat Hanh has an excellent talk on the four noble truths, and that was like an aha moment. I realized I'm causing my own suffering. The first two, and then the second and fourth are the solution. And I could see that. And that was a big beginning also. So just if that, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Okay.
And I know it's getting late.
Thank you for that wonderful testimonial to the effectiveness of this path. I think now is the time for us to close by giving respects to the Triple Gem. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami Thank you, everyone, for your patient listening and for your good practice.
Thank you, Ayya. 3 bows of
Thank you,
teacher.
Ayya.
Thank you, Ayya. Thank you, Ayya.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.